Hi guys, and welcome back to another Dot Race video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 21. We're here in round 6 of Moto 2. It's now time for Le Mans. So starting in pole position is Grant with Bo Benschneider and Sam Lowes, Bezzecchi, Gardner and Schrotter on the second row, Roberts, Di Gianantonio, Manzi, Fernandez, Canet, Dixon, Agora, Vietti, Navarro, Vierge, Arbolino, Bobier, Baldassari, Cyrene, Buliga, Garzo, Ramirez, Della Porta, Luti, Corsi, Chantra, Baltus and Arenas, and finally at the back of the grid, Jari Montella. So here we go, round 6 of Le Mans is upon us, we look to the lights and away we go! Stellar start for the Moto 3 World Champion. He's now flying into first place. Will he take the whole shot going into the right-hander? He was absolutely impervious in practice and qualifying. Can he do the business here today in Le Mans? Now onto the left-hand side for turn 3. We'll flick it to the right here for turn 4. And it's all systems go for the Moto 3 World Champion. Up by 0.4 of a second. The man who is living life quite happily at the front recently. Winning 2 out of the last 2 Grand Prix. Will he make it a hat-trick here today in this French Grand Prix? And I'll tell you what, he's already got 0.3 of a second clear from Bo Benschneider and Marco Bezzecchi behind. Excellent start going into Musée. Can he continue this pressure on, utilising a medium front here today? Not going for the usual soft option combination, as usually that sort of backfires towards the end of the Grand Prix. We're going into Garage Vert, beautifully executed from the Moto 3 World Champion. Yes, I mentioned a couple of times the Moto 3 World Champion. Will he eventually be the Moto 2 World Champion? Is it going to be this season? Is it going to be in the future? Who knows? But going into Shaman O'Buff for the left-hand side. Little bit wide there for the British rider. Will the Dutchman Ben Schneider manage to get right onto the rear? Of course, the momentum that you will gain from coming out of Shaman O'Buff and then into the Blue S's is certainly a lot more than what Grant has just got there for making a little bit of a mistake, but he has responded quite well and we've got that gap back up to 0.2 of a second. But you know, Ben Schneider would like to do battle once again with Grant. He had a fantastic job last time out in Jerez before falling behind. He was doing such a great job fighting against the Moto3 World Champion, but Grant goes across the line and I think that might be curtains for them. This is the biggest fear that Ben Schneider, Bezzecchi, Lowes and Gardner had, and that is letting Grant get to the front and start churning out the fast lap times. We didn't do many laps in practice, we didn't do many laps in qualifying, so what is our race pace going to be? Was the medium tyre a good choice? Was the soft rear a good choice? Who knows? We still have a lot of questions yet to be answered in this Moto 2 Grand Prix. Now Grant, impervious under pressure in Portimao, not able to be defeated in Jerez. Can the guy somehow conjure something up to deny his momentum and stop him from taking 3 Grand Prix victories in a row? The hat-trick, if you will. Can Grant get the job done here today in Le Mans? Now, I absolutely adore this track and I feel fantastic here, but we didn't do that many laps in practice and qualifying, as already mentioned, so we don't know what the race pace is going to be, as there's another mistake coming in from the man from England, a little bit wide going into Garage Vert, touching the green, therefore resulting in 1 track limit warning. You know the drill, we get 5 track limit warnings and it's into the long lap penalty. I think it's going to be a bit like Argentina last season in Moto 3. If you managed to watch that one, I got to the front and started churning out the lap times, got myself a long lap penalty and was still able to stay in front. It's going to be very similar to what Jack Miller did in Le Mans in real life. Of course, he did manage to do 2 long lap penalties and still take the Grand Prix victory. But going into the final couple of corners now into turn 13, then onto the right hand side, turn 14 for Ricordamont. Beautifully executed by the Petronas SRT Kalex rider. Now across the line, he will indeed set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, which is a 1:38.527, immediately bettered by Sam Lowes in 3rd place. Are we going to see a British battle at the front here in France? Is Sam Lowes going to make his way through on Ben Schneider and start chucking in the amount of pressure on Grant which was going to be too much to bear? Now Bo Benschneider is still holding Sam Lowes up a little bit. He's 0.5 of a second behind Grant in the lead as things stand, and Sam Lowes just hanging on there in 3rd place. That would be a great result for Sam Lowes, still yet to finish on the podium this season. So this could be very good for him. And actually, I'm incorrect. He did finish on the podium in Argentina, but that was a very bizarre race where we only had 10 finishes. So, excuse me for sort of forgetting that one. I guess it doesn't make sense to forget such a wonderful Grand Prix that just full of turmoil in that one. But no sign of the World Championship leader right now, Raul Fernandez. Of course, he is still leading the World Championship by 15 points. this could be a certain change of fate right here. If Grant wins this one, and Fernandez is nowhere to be seen in the top 10, we could very well be looking at a brand new Moto2 World Championship leader, and it could very well be the man on your screen right now. Grant is looking superb here, and he's 0.5 of a second quicker than his previous lap time. This could very well be the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. In practice, in qualifying, we'll be the only man to get into the sub-138s, and if Grant can do it again, that could be a killing blow to the other riders. Only 2 more corners to navigate to find out what the lap time is going to be. Beautifully executed there as we get very, very close to touching the white line just before Recordamont. Now across the line we go, and it's a 1:37.995. Immediately bettered by Raul Fernandez. We were just speaking about him earlier, and Raul Fernandez has decided to rear his ugly head and decide to fight back. He has now set a 1:37.895, which can only mean one thing. Grant has to do the business once again. But of course, Raul Fernandez is not on the left-hand side of the screen right now, so I don't know exactly where he is. He could be in 9th place, he could be in 10th. Oh, someone's gone down behind us. I'm not sure exactly who that was, because unfortunately we don't see the graphic to see who has crashed. But fingers crossed we can work out who that is. If it's Raul Fernandez, and he has to hand over the World Championship lead to this man on your screen right now, the British rider out of Warrington is doing such a superb job here today. It's been a while since we've led a Grand Prix this comfortably. Of course, in Portimao we did have a comfortable lead, and we soon succumbed to the pressure of the riders behind as we run it wide into Garage Vert. Big mistake coming in there for Grant. Lost that gap that he had, but it's still 0.7 of a second, but we did lose 0.6 of a second in that particular mistake going into Garage Vert. Now into Shimano Buff. We will try and regain the time once again by flicking it to the left and then flicking it to the right. Nice and tight apex there. And we'll kick it out going near the rumble strip, but not on it because it can be a little bit aggressive in MotoGP 21. Now navigating the blue S's, 0.6 of a second down to the previous lap time, but it's still a very, very good lap time nonetheless. You're looking at still a 1:38.4, 1:38.3, which is still a superb lap time in any shape of the way, and it's still quicker than Bo Schneider behind, so that just proves how quick and how much Grant is on his A game right now. He's on his ace game, let's say, excuse the pun, as we now go into turn 1 onto the right hand side, carrying a lot of speed here, and then we'll get it on the brakes nice and gentle, not abusing the front tyre. We don't need to go too crazy here. We have a 1.2 second advantage, call that 1.3 or 4 ahead of Bo Schneider and Marco Bezzecchi behind. We've not seen much of Marco Bezzecchi this season in the virtual world. Fingers crossed he can start getting into it and start chucking in some quicker lap times and start qualifying a little bit better and getting into the main action up at the front. But we now go into Musée onto the left hand side. Plenty of fuel remaining. I am only using power setting 2. Probably could increase it to power setting 3, but we really don't need to right now as things stand. We're getting closer and closer to the halfway point of this Grand Prix, and it seems to be we have this one in the bag. I do apologise if it's not as most entertaining a races, but I did feel like we could just get to the front and disappear, so therefore I'm doing that now, let's say. It's been a while since we've done this one, so I guess it's not too we can't be too mad. And I'll tell you what, it's saving my throat a little bit, so this is not all that bad. If it was going to be one of those ones that it's going to be absolute carnage and mayhem, then things would have been a little bit different. And something's happened to Bo Schneider behind. The Dutchman has now dropped it down to 4th place. Bezzecchi has inherited 2nd, and the same can be said for Sam Lowe's inheriting 3rd place. So that is currently your podium finishes as things stand, but if the gap is only 0.8 of a second, Grant has sort of relaxed a little bit on this lap. Does he need to go gung-ho once again and start chucking in some quicker pace lap times? It's another 1:38.4 for Grant. Good smooth lap times coming in now. We've not really deviated by much. At the most we've probably deviated by about 0.6 of a second. Still been very, very consistent. I'm rather looking forward to seeing what the pace is towards the end of the session. So keep an eye on the right hand side of your screen there, just underneath the TSO timing, so you can see exactly how much time and what pace we're running here in this Le Mans GP. Now, of course, this doesn't tell the entire picture. Just because we're having a absolutely unbelievable session right now, leading this Grand Prix extremely comfortably, does not mean that the championship is all done and dusted and it's all been said and done. We still have a lot more races left in this championship, a lot more tracks that I might struggle on, a lot more tracks that we might dominate on, and a lot more tracks that are going to be a little bit more competitive. I just find that Le Mans, we do have that extra bit of grip, we do have that extra bit of oomph and go, if you will. We just really enjoy this track. It's one of my favourite tracks on the Grand Prix calendar out of all the 20s. in MotoGP 21. Of course, we got the additional 2 of the historical tracks. It's definitely one of my favourites. It's most certainly up there as we go into Shimano Buff for the left-hand side. Nice tight apex, then flick it onto the right-hand side, getting on the apex there, and then going near the rumble strip to the left-hand side. Now braking here just before the Ferris wheel of the Blue S's. This could be another personal best lap from coming in from Grant. So let's see what happens as we get closer and closer to the finish line, going into turn 13. A little bit of a right leg coming out there from Grant. And then once again on the right-hand side. Oh, almost cutting the corner there. But going across the line, this is going to be a magnificent lap. Across the line, it is a 1:37.557. I don't think anyone's going to get close enough to that one. The medium tyre is well and truly cooking on gas right now. It is feeling so magnificent. It feels smooth. It feels comfortable. It feels well and truly planted. This is going to be curtains for Marco Bezzecchi and Sam Lowes behind. We're going to do effectively what Remy Gardner's just done in the Sachsenring, where he just got to the front and dominated. Can we do the similar by chucking in some ridiculously fast lap times? That is even quicker than the qualifying lap we just set 4 hours ago. Great stuff coming in from the Moto3 World Champion. Absolutely superb. I don't even realise that those guys behind, we are just churning out quick lap times. But I tell you what, something that is in the back of my mind that I really should remove. Jake Dixon led the Grand Prix here last year in Le Mans. He was absolutely brilliant. He was leading so well from Sam Lowes, and then unfortunately crashed into Recordamon. We really don't want that to happen to this particular Petronas SRT rider. And unfortunately, I don't see Xavi Vierge or Jake Dixon on the left-hand side of the screen. Not sure what's happening to the other side of the garages for the Petronas SRT team, but right now it's the rookie who has come in and just decimated the timing sheets, decimating this World Championship standing, because I think Grant's going to be on the top of the page right here in Le Mans, especially after this performance, chucking in the fastest lap time, chucking in all of the fastest lap times. This guy is on an absolute tear. Could we make it 3 out of 3 here today in Le Mans? It's certainly looking that way as we get quicker and quicker potentially. Up by 1/10 of a second, down by 1/10 of a second, close enough to. It's a 1:37.660. Another fantastic lap coming in for the rookie. That's right, he's still a rookie. I know we've been calling him the Moto3 World Champion, the Petronas SRT rider, lots and lots of names, but he is still a rookie at the end of the day. And so is Raul Fernandez. We have 2 rookies, first and second in the World Championship standings, no matter which way you put them. So if Grant wins here today and takes the World Championship lead, still a rookie leading. And regardless, Raul Fernandez is still leading, and he's a rookie. Magnificent job for 2 of the best rookies in Moto2. I've got to be honest with you, there's not much for me to talk about here. Grant is just doing an absolutely brilliant job. Marco Bezzecchi, Sam Lowes, Ben Schneider, Roberts, Gardner, Di Gianantonio and Fernandez are currently your top 8, as Joe Roberts had to make a move there and go up on the inside of Bo Ben Schneider, just as I was discussing the actual top 8 of the leaderboards right now. We're going into Garage Vert, beautifully executed from the Moto2 rider, the rookie. I was going to say the Moto3 World Champion, but God knows how many times I've said that in this particular video. The man on the Husqvarna last season, the former Moto3 rider, with so many different names and sort of terms you can give one rider, and was a little bit eager on the acceleration there coming out of turn 10. We had a bit of an acceleration issue as the rear tyre just tried to skip and slide across the gravel, or the tarmac if you will. Now going into the Blue S's, certainly wasn't the gravel, that would be a bad thing actually, as we just cut the corner there, making a mistake going into turn 12. We certainly won't improve the lap time as we make that little bit of an error, and of course that is our second track limit warning. We have to be on our best behaviour now, make sure we don't get 3 more, otherwise that'll be a long lap penalty. This is going to be another lap into the 1:37s. The pace has slowed just a little bit, but we were on a fantastic lap there, so that is a bit of a shame. But we have to look at the lap times and think, is anyone really going to get close to us? Marco Bezzecchi currently 1.7 seconds behind as we glide into turn 3 and then onto the outside of turn 4. I do absolutely adore that corner. Probably one of my favourite overtakes ever was last season in Moto3, overtaking 3 riders into turn 3 and 4. It was a thing of beauty. If you don't get the chance to have a look at that one, I might post it in the community tab when I get a chance, but honestly it was absolutely gorgeous. One of the best overtakes I've ever done in the video game. I've done quite a good couple of few on Ride 4 that certainly made the archive, but of course MotoGP is certainly holding its own archive of just magnificent overtakes, as Grant is just dominating here today. There really isn't much for me to discuss at this point. Grant is just killing it. Marco Bezzecchi in second, Sam Lowes in third. Things aren't really changing right now. It is very much status quo in this typical Moto2 race. You know, we do have Moto2 races like this where things just stay the same throughout the Grand Prix, and we sort of watch and we learn a lot about the riders, and we're learning today, I would say. We're learning a lot about each individual rider. We're learning how well Grant can manage at the front. Will he continue to do this? I'm not sure. Mugello's coming up next, which is of course going to be a very difficult circuit to lead at the front, especially with the slipstream advantage that the other riders will get. And of course the slipstream is absolutely crucial for winning Grand Prix in Mugello. And across the line, I tell you what, this is going to be another 137 for Grant. It is indeed. It's a 137.961. Now you could argue that he's on a bit of a negative trend right now, from dropping from a 137.5 down to a 137.9, but that's only a deviation of 0.4 in about 4 laps. So that's a tenth a lap that we're losing. But we're not exactly losing to Marco Bezzecchi, we're just losing it to ourselves. The gap is still at 1.7, it's now gone to 1.8, it could very well be 0.2 of a second, 2 seconds going into La Chapelle or coming out of La Chapelle. And that is certainly nothing to be scoffed at. And with 3 laps remaining, or 4 laps remaining if you include this particular one, I don't see us really relinquishing this lead at this point. We're going to have to make a massive mistake to give Marco Bezzecchi even a sniff of winning this Grand Prix. He has gained 0.3 of a second before we go into the very difficult Garage Vert corner. We lost a little bit of time into Musée, but because of the nature of the corner, as we enter Garage Vert, we regain all that time back again. This is just brilliant. The right-hand side of the soft rear is taking a little bit of a hounding, but not too much to be too concerned. I do feel it will have a lot of tyre life. And considering the rear tyre is probably the most sort of hounded part in Moto 2, since the rear tyre tends to spin up a lot with there being no traction control. Now, I had difficulty saying that a moment ago, so excuse me if I took a few attempts to say traction control. It was very difficult for me to say for some strange reason, as we now go into turn 12. I'm just having fun with you, I'm just having fun in general, as we now go into the right-hand side for turn 13, and then we'll be tackling turn 14, Recordamon, and we might be ending that negative trend of dropping time as we now go across the line. It is a new fastest lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen, a 137.493. Grant has heard the message and he's got back into the low 137s. I don't think a 136 is possible for my pace right now, but I would like to see the leaderboard at some point to see exactly how well a 137 stacks up. Of course, we are only in power setting 2, and I do feel if we utilise power setting 3, we might have a bit more sort of leeway and a bit more grace, but controversially, I'm going to say I much prefer riding in power setting 2, and same can be said for power setting 1 in Moto 3, because the rear tyre doesn't spin up. There's not enough power going to the actual rear, so I feel like I can ride smoother with the lower power settings rather than the largest power setting. So I actually chuck in more quicker lap times with power setting 2 sometimes. Sounds bizarre, but just because I'm more comfortable, I can chuck in quicker lap times due to the ability of not spinning up the rear, and we're roughly on the same pace again for another 137.4, which is going to be absolutely superb. This has been an amazing Grand Prix for Grant. He has not put a foot wrong, minus a couple of mistakes going into Garage Vert a couple of times, and even here into Shimano Buff, but right now it's just going to be a pleasant Sunday ride. It's brilliant. It's like riding Ride 4 again. The AI is just not competitive enough. Or at least they might not be competitive enough, or they are competitive enough, but we have just been so stellar in this Grand Prix. Turn 12 to navigate. We could be well and truly increasing our lead once again and upping the pace, even towards this end of this race, just on the penultimate lap in a moment, and we'll be improving our lap once again, up by a tenth of a second there or thereabouts. Across the line we go. It's a 137.477 once again. Negative trend is well over. It is now a positive trend. 2 lap times in the high 137.4s. Magnificent stuff for the man from England, the 26-year-old man from Warrington. You know who I am. You know me, doing the business here in Le Mans right now. And I gotta say, this is a pleasant surprise for me because my throat is killing me. It really is. I'm having difficulties with my allergies at the minute, so therefore it's making it more and more difficult to speak and really chuck in those vocal cords that I usually do to when the action really kicks off. Had to scream earlier on when Stefano Manzi knocked me over into Garage Vert, but it's quite okay. We're doing our best, we're doing what we can. Of course, if you didn't see the Monster Energy Supercross video I did the other day, that ended with me literally losing my voice. That was rather funny, but at the same time, my throat didn't thank me after that one. So it's a bit of a pleasure to race at the front and take things a little bit easier. Of course, next time out we do have Mugello, and I fear the worst for that one. I think that's going to be a one where it's going to kill me, but we'll see as the race gets on. But we are up by 0.2 of a second once again. We could be looking at 1:37.2 by the time this Grand Prix is said and done. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget, this is the penultimate lap where we are chucking in this ridiculous pace lap time. 3.2 seconds clear of the Italian behind. The Sky VR46 rider hasn't shown us a single wheel. Has anyone shown us a wheel? I don't think so. We got straight to the front and started chucking in the best lap times possible. And across the line, it's going to be another ridiculous lap time. So across the lap time, the lap is going to be a 1:37.376. Absolutely unbelievable pace. Razlan Razli, Jürgen Stickerfeld must have a massive smile on their faces right now. The Aces must have a massive smile on their faces right now because their rider is doing the business here in Le Mans. The French GP is being claimed by the British rider. Joe Roberts close to a podium for the American fans, but unfortunately for him, it's not going to get the job done. We could finish on the podium with a fellow Brit. All is going to be good in England today as we celebrate Grant's victory. Of course, it's not over yet. There's still plenty of time in the sense of corners to go, but this final lap time should be a nice, smooth journey for Grant. 0.2 of a second currently slower, which is still a decent 1:37 lap, which I don't think anyone's going to get close enough to. I don't even think anyone's going to be in the 1:37s towards the end of this race. Grant is still leading by 4 seconds, and I did want to say 0.4 of a second because it's so rare we get to say seconds in the sense of this Grand Prix. They've been so close in this Moto 3 and Moto 2 career mode. It's very rare we've been able to get a lead that is over a second as we run it a little bit wide into the Shimano buffs and almost given a track limit warning there. We were rather fortunate not to be given one, but the gap has now gone from 4 seconds down to 3.5, but it doesn't really matter as we make another mistake going into the Blue S's. Getting a little bit too casual here. This lap time is going to suck towards the end of this Grand Prix, but it's nothing to be too concerned about. Little mistake there, nothing really to concern ourselves about. And now going into the final corner for Recordimon, it's going to be victory number 3 in a row. Hat-trick coming in for the British rider. Grant wins here in Le Mans in stunning fashion. So Grant dominates the field here today, winning in comfortable style. Marco Bezzecchi and Sam Lowes finish on the podium as Joe Roberts misses out by 2 seconds to Sam Lowes. So look at the World Championship standing, and Grant has done their business. Grant is now the new World Championship leader, just 14 points ahead of Raul Fernandez. What a way to top off 3 wins in a row than being handed the Moto2 World Championship lead for the very first time. Now looking at the Team Championship, Red Bull, KTM, IO still lead the way, but Petronas Sprinter Racing have decimated that lead, and it is now dropped down to 13 points. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one heck of a season on our hands. So there is the winner. Moto2's victory goes to Grant once again. 3 wins in a row for that man right there on your screen. Doing the best he can. Doing the business right now here in Moto2. Looking quite impervious is Matt Grant. But guys, upon that note, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted to every single Dot Race upload. And upon that note, guys, thank you for watching and ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite sate your appetite, then why not watch some more Dot Race content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single Dr. Race video.